If you told someone who had absolutely no context about our society, that every 4 years, millions of fully grown adults just completely paralyze their offices,
Oh, yeah.
like they stand in these massive lines and literally cheer out loud because they found a 2 by 3 inch piece of shiny paper with a picture of Vinicius Jr. on it. I mean, they'd probably assume we were all under some kind of mass hypnosis.
Right. I mean, stripped of its cultural context, it is literally just a flimsy piece of cardboard
Yeah,
with adhesive on the back.
exactly.
A visitor from another planet would look at this behavior and assume that specific piece of paper must hold, like the literal secrets to the universe, just given the absolute reverence people treat it with.
But then you zoom out, right, and you realize you're looking at the World Cup sticker album craze. And it is this incredibly resilient, century-old global ritual.
It really is.
And with the 2026 tournament expanding and, rapidly approaching, we're about to see this collective fever take over the entire globe yet again. So for this deep dive, we are really looking into the mechanics of this phenomena.
Yeah, getting under the hood.
Right. We want to understand how a simple piece of paper manages to completely hijack schoolyards, boardrooms, and family dining tables worldwide.
And we're pulling this apart today using an amazing stack of research. We've got everything from Panini's CEO talking to Sports Illustrated to some incredible historical footage from 60 Minutes.
There's some great stuff in those docs.
Absolutely. Plus, we've got documentaries from Entre Lenhas FC, and we did a deep dive into dedicated collector archives, places like Cards Review.
So our mission today is to trace this astonishing 100-year history. We were going from a completely bizarre and honestly unexpectedly dangerous public health crisis in South America.
Which is wild.
It's so wild, all the way to a modern billion-dollar international obsession. The core question we want to answer for you today is, what makes this tactile, physical tradition so unkillable?
Which is really the tension at the heart of this entire story. I mean, in an era of absolute digital overload where your smartphone can give you instant gratification in a millisecond, understanding why millions of people still obsess over the physical act of peeling and gluing paper into a book, well, it tells us something profound about human memory.
Yeah.
It's basically a highly tactile rebellion against our screen-heavy lives.
Let's wind the clock back to the very beginning then. Because to understand the whole Panini empire, you have to look at the chaotic marketing gimmick that proved the concept. And we are starting in South America, decades before the Panini brothers even entered the picture.
Right, so we have to rewind to Brazil in 1919.
Okay.
And this is well before the first World Cup even existed, right? A company called Grade & Companhia launched a product called Bala Sport.
Bala Sport.
And these were very rudimentary sugar candies. But inside the packaging, they included little photos of local football players. It wasn't an organized collection at first, though.
Right, there wasn't a book or anything.
Exactly. There was no album. It was just a sweet treat that happened to come with a picture.
But this psychological hook, it was instantly effective. Kids were immediately drawn to the photos. By 1921, rival candy factories were jumping on the trend to capture that same demographic.
Because they saw it working.
Right. Then, in 1938, the first actual album was launched in Brazil. It was just a little physical notebook where kids could finally bring some order to their collections, and glue these loose player images into designated spots.
But the absolute turning point, where the obsession overpowered the actual product itself, hit in 1950.
Yes, 1950.
Because 1950 is when Brazil hosted the World Cup for the first time. So a local company launched the first ever World Cup-specific sticker album to tie into this monumental event.
Which makes sense.
Right. And the stickers were still coming as a bonus inside those sugar candies. But kids simply didn't care about the candy anymore, at all. The desire to complete the album was so overwhelming that kids would literally buy the sweets, rip the packaging open, take the player photo, and throw the actual sugar candy directly onto the street.
Imagine Willy Wonka's golden tickets, but the kids are just chucking the chocolate bars straight into the gutter.
Yeah, exactly like that.
And the fallout from this was terrible because suddenly you have thousands of discarded, sugar-coated candies melting on the pavement of major Brazilian cities.
Well, it's a huge mess.
And it led to a legitimate public health crisis. Street children began scavenging and eating these dirty candies off the ground. It became a serious municipal issue that local authorities actually had to deal with.
And from a purely psychological standpoint, that municipal crisis proved something undeniable to the marketing world.
What's that?
Well, the desire to collect, right, to complete a set, to possess the image of your hero, it was so overwhelmingly strong that the actual consumable product, the candy, had become completely irrelevant.
Wow.
The bonus item had completely cannibalized the main product.
I'm stuck on something here, though. I mean, kids throwing candy in the street proves they wanted the stickers, sure. But fads die out all the time, right? Pogs died out. Fidget spinners died out.
Oh, for sure.
So why did anyone look at a municipal littering crisis in 1950s Brazil and think, ah, yes, a sustainable, century-long global business model?
Well, because what that crisis revealed wasn't just a passing fad. It was a fundamental human behavioral loop, the thrill of the hunt.
Okay.
But you are completely right that a localized craze does not automatically equal a sustainable global business. The desire to collect was proven in Brazil, absolutely, but the enterprise completely lacked systematic execution.
So they needed a better system.
Exactly. To find the people who figured out how to industrialize that psychological loop, our story has to cross the Atlantic Ocean to post-World War II Italy.
Right, so we find ourselves at a newspaper kiosk in the center of Modena, Italy. The year is 1961, and we have a widow named Olga Panini and her 4 sons running this newsstand.
The Panini family.
Yes. The oldest son, Giuseppe, he's kind of the visionary of the family, and he realizes they really need to expand beyond just selling daily papers. So his first big idea is to sell collectible cards depicting flowers.
A venture that went down in absolute flames.
Complete disaster.
Nobody wanted to collect pictures of flowers.
No one at all. But Giuseppe recognized that the fundamental delivery mechanism, selling a collectible card in a sealed blind pack, was incredibly powerful.
The mechanics were right.
Exactly. He just had the wrong subject matter. So, short on cash and desperate to make the concept work, he pivots to a subject Italians actually care deeply about: domestic soccer.
Of course.
He launches a collection for the Italian League, and it becomes an overnight sensation.
But here is where the Panini brothers run into the ultimate mechanical nightmare of the collectible industry.
Which is?
Well, if you are selling blind packs of stickers to kids, the absolute quickest way to destroy your business is a lack of randomization.
Ah, duplicates.
Right. If a kid buys 5 packs and gets the exact same player 10 times, they feel cheated, and they quit the hobby forever.
They're done.
You have to mix the stickers perfectly before they ever go into the packets so that the dopamine hit of opening a pack is maintained.
Okay, I understand how you might shuffle a deck of 50 cards, but how on earth were they randomizing millions of flimsy paper stickers in 1960s Italy without, like, a high-tech factory or computer algorithm?
This is where Umberto Panini comes in. He was the engineer of the family. He understood that randomness was the actual core product they were selling. But his first attempt to solve this was, well, highly manual.
How manual?
He would literally take a shovel and shovel piles of different stickers together on the factory floor, just mixing them like cement.
Wait, a literal shovel. That has to be incredibly inefficient and highly likely to damage the cardboard, right?
Oh, completely unsustainable. So Umberto goes looking for a mechanical solution, and he actually finds it in the dairy industry.
Wait, dairy?
Yeah, he literally repurposed a commercial butter churn.
You're kidding.
No, it's brilliant. He threw the distinct stacks of stickers into the churn, turned the handle, and the spinning mechanism tossed them around, creating a perfectly randomized mixture without damaging the corners of the paper.
That is just incredible.
And that basic mechanical concept, tossing and mixing light paper in a rotating drum, it is still the foundation for how Panini's massive high-tech machines makes 11 million packets a day right now.
11 million a day. Just brilliant homespun engineering. And solving that massive logistical hurdle really set them up for their biggest leap. Because in 1970, the World Cup went to Mexico, and Panini secured the rights to produce their first truly international album.
The 1970 Mexico album, in the collecting world, that's known as the Holy Grail.
The Holy Grail, yeah.
It featured 288 stickers, and beyond just being the first global album, it introduced a major technological revolution for the physical product itself: self-adhesive paper.
Oh, right. Because prior to 1970, collectors had to use a messy pot of glue or paste to stick the cardboard into the book.
It was basically an arts and craft project that often ruined the album.
Totally. I mean, it creates a massive barrier to entry for a kid. Glue gets everywhere, the pages stick together, the book ends up looking terrible.
Exactly. But backing off a sticker and placing it smoothly onto the page that turns a messy chore into a swift, satisfying action, It provides instantaneous gratification.
It changes
The
everything.
tactile feel of the self-adhesive fundamentally changed the relationship the consumer had with the book.
To put the value of that specific historical moment into perspective for you today, a complete original 1970 album can fetch anywhere from 2,500 to 5,000 British pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, that's up to 13,000 US dollars for a book of self-adhesive cardboard.
That's staggering.
But scaling this operation globally meant Panini had to step out of their comfortable Italian bubble. Because it's one thing to sell to kids in Modena, but it's an entirely different beast to navigate international shipping, language barriers, and frankly, the chaos of global sporting events.
Yeah, the evolution had to speed up dramatically. For the 1974 Munich World Cup, they started translating the album into 6 different languages simultaneously just to capture the broader European market.
Right.
And then by 1982 in Spain, they introduced the ultimate playground status symbol, the shiny foil stickers for the team badges.
Ah, the shinies. Everyone remembers the shinies.
Yeah.
But as they expanded, they ran into a brutal logistical reality. Think about the stress of this from a manufacturing standpoint. To get millions of albums and stickers shipped to kiosks worldwide in time for the summer tournament hype, Panini has to finalize the designs, lock in the player images, and hit print months in advance.
Months in advance.
Yeah.
Which means they're essentially playing a massive guessing game with the final team roster.
Right, because managers don't pick their teams until the last minute.
Exactly. National team managers don't finalize their squads until right before the tournament. So Panini is flying blind. And historically, they have gotten it wrong a lot.
The imperfections of production are legendary. Like, in 1990, Salvatore Schillaci was the absolute breakout star of the tournament for Italy. He won the Golden Boot.
Incredible player.
But if you open a 1990 Panini album, he does not exist.
Nowhere to be found.
Right, because he made his national team debut in March of that year, and the printing presses had already run. He was simply too late.
And those printing realities could also reflect real-world tragedies. During the 1994 USA World Cup, the Colombian defender Andres Escobar famously scored an own goal and was later tragically murdered when he returned to Colombia.
A highly publicized international tragedy.
Very dark moment. But if you bought the international version of the Panini album, he wasn't in it. His sticker was only ever printed in the specific Colombian regional version of the book.
Wow. And beyond just guessing the rosters, the intellectual property battlefield was a constant threat. And this IP war actually caused a massive, highly embarrassing disaster for Panini in 1998 with the Iranian national team. What exactly happened there?
Oh, this is fascinating. A rival sticker company called DS, which incredibly was also based in Modena, Panini's own hometown.
You can't make that up.
Right. They managed to aggressively negotiate and snag the exclusive image rights to the Iranian national team before Panini's lawyers could lock it down.
So Panini legally could not put the Iranian players into their regular blind packs.
Right.
So you've got millions of collectors around the world ripping open packs, trading with friends, furiously trying to fill out their 1998 album, and they just have this completely empty ghost town page for Iran.
Yeah, you literally could not finish the album through normal means.
That's insane.
Panini was so embarrassed by the oversight that they had to quietly manufacture replacement sheets from a facility in the UK and manually mail them out to angry collectors who wrote in requesting them.
That is a logistical nightmare.
Like trying to print tomorrow's newspaper today. You're bound to get the headlines wrong or miss a crucial story entirely because someone else scooped you.
But honestly, doesn't this imperfection actually drive the culture? Like a misprinted coin or a scamp with an error. It feels like the mistakes actually give the album its soul.
For the diehard collectors, absolutely. These errors and omissions act as historical time capsules. They freeze a very specific moment in time. They document what the consensus thought was going to happen versus the chaotic reality of what actually did.
Yeah, the mistakes become playground lore.
Exactly. And despite these massive logistical headaches, the nostalgic appeal of these albums completely transformed Panini's trajectory. It really stopped being just a disposable childhood hobby.
It transitions into a multinational billion-dollar juggernaut. And the financial shift really happens when the adults re-enter the ecosystem.
Right. The 2006 Germany World Cup is widely credited within the industry as the moment the hobby was revived on a massive scale.
Why 2006?
Because the kids who were furiously collecting the 1982 or 1986 albums were suddenly adults in their 30s and 40s.
Ah, they had a real disposable income.
Exactly. Panini recognized this nostalgia cycle and leaned into it hard. They weren't just selling to kids with pocket money anymore. They were selling to adults trying to buy back a piece of their childhood.
And the scale of production becomes almost incomprehensible. By the time we hit the 2014 World Cup in Brazil, Panini's factory in São Paulo was churning out 40 million individual stickers every single day.
40 million a day.
And by the 2018 Russia World Cup, that specific tournament's album generated a staggering $1 billion in sales.
Wow.
$1 billion just for paper and adhesive.
And the demographic breakdown of where that money comes from is fascinating, as detailed in the Sports Illustrated interview with Panini America's CEO Mark Warsop. You might assume the biggest markets are strictly the massive European nations, right?
Right.
But Brazil is actually the #1 market in the world for these stickers.
He also mentioned a really surprising stat in there. Per capita, Switzerland is an absolutely massive market.
Yeah.
Which makes sense when you think about it. You have a population with very high disposable income sitting right in the center of a fanatic multilingual European football culture.
That does make sense.
But what I found most poignant was the demographic breakdown in the United States. 85% of Panini World Cup collectors in the U.S. are of Hispanic or Latino origin.
85%. That's huge. It really acts as an incredible mechanism for passing a cultural tradition down through generations.
Completely.
Immigrant parents from Mexico, Colombia, or Argentina are sharing this very specific tactile piece of their own childhood with their American-born kids. It's a cultural tether.
It bridges geography. And it even bridged the gap for global superstars. Kobe Bryant was a famously massive collector.
Really?
Yeah. Because Kobe spent a huge chunk of his childhood growing up in Italy, he was completely obsessed with Panini's domestic Italian league albums, the Calciatori. He knew the tactile feel of the brand implicitly. Years later, when Panini expanded into the NBA market in America, Kobe was actually thrilled to work with them because he already possessed this deep emotional connection to the logo from his school days.
That's a great detail. We do have to acknowledge, though, that this transition from a humble childhood pastime into a billion-dollar financial juggernaut has severely altered the culture around the hobby.
Definitely.
The financial stakes have introduced a layer of stress and exclusivity that never used to exist.
And that became painfully obvious during the most recent 2022 Qatar World Cup. The consumer backlash was severe. The baseline prices nearly doubled from previous tournament years.
Doubled?
Yeah, in Brazil, a single pack jumped to 7 reais. But the real chaos started because Panini introduced these new legend stickers. For anyone not deep in the modern card collecting world, what does that actually mean?
So Panini introduced what the industry calls parallel stickers. It is the exact same base image of a star player like Lionel Messi or Neymar, but it is printed on an ultra-rare gold, silver, or bronze foil background.
Okay.
They intentionally print very few of them to create artificial scarcity. And it completely changes the psychological dynamic of the hobby.
Because it's no longer just a democratic pursuit of completing a book with your friends.
Right. It becomes a lottery ticket hunt for a manufactured rarity.
And people went crazy. A rare gold Neymar sticker was being sold on secondary online markets for over 7 times the Brazilian minimum wage.
7 times? That's absurd.
People were furiously buying up entire boxes just looking for the gold foils. The supply chain couldn't handle the speculative demand. Kiosk shelves were instantly emptying. And consumer protection agencies in Brazil, like Procon, literally had to step in.
You got involved.
Yes, they formally notified Panini because of the national shortages and all the ensuing chaos.
So the schoolyard trading game really morphed into a speculative financial market.
Which brings up a glaring question for me. With billions of dollars on the line, people literally rioting over inflated prices, and the undeniable fact that our entire lives are lived through our phones. Why are we still doing this with physical paper? Didn't Panini launch a digital app back in 2018 where you could just swipe a screen to open packs?
They did. They did launch a digital version, and it saw moderate success. About 1.5 million users engaged with it.
Okay, so people tried it.
But the digital experience fundamentally fails to capture the core obsession because it lacks the sensory magic. You cannot digitize the physical friction that makes the hobby meaningful.
You can't replicate the satisfying sound of ripping the foil packet open.
Exactly. You can't replicate the very specific nostalgic smell of the fresh paper and the printing ink.
Oh, that smell is iconic. It instantly transports you back to being 10 years old.
Exactly that. And most importantly, you cannot replicate the analog joy of standing in a physical space A schoolyard, a local pub, a town square, holding a thick stack of your duplicate stickers wrapped tightly in a rubber band, and negotiating a face-to-face swap with another human being.
That physical interaction.
Yes, in a modern world where every digital interaction is designed to be frictionless and isolated, the friction, the tangible, messy reality of the physical album is exactly what makes it valuable.
Which brings us right back to the present day and honestly to a profoundly bittersweet moment in this 100-year history.
Right.
Because the upcoming 2026 World Cup album is going to be an absolute monster. The tournament is expanding to 48 teams, playing across the US, Canada, and Mexico.
The physical specifications for the new album are staggering. It'll be 112 pages long, requiring 980 total stickers to complete.
It's a massive undertaking, but it also marks the end of an era. Because as of 2031, Panini's legendary 60-year partnership with FIFA is officially over. The exclusive rights are being taken over by Fanatics, operating through their Topps brand.
Which represents a seismic shift in the underlying philosophy of the collectibles landscape. To understand this shift, you really have to look at what Fanatics currently does with properties like Formula One or the NBA.
Right.
They don't traditionally focus on selling cheap, democratic paper packs to kids. They excel at high-end, financialized collectibles, selling expensive hobby boxes featuring autographed cards or cards embedded with literal pieces of a player's jersey. They create items that trade more like volatile stocks than childhood memories.
It really makes you wonder what will happen to the soul of the sticker album under that model.
I keep thinking about a quote from Umberto Panini, the engineer brother who invented the butter churn mixing method.
Oh, yeah. What did he say?
Reflecting on his life's work and the empire he helped build, he simply said, "All that I have achieved, I did it with fun."
I love that.
That really gets to the heart of the matter. The enduring magic of these albums was never actually about the cardboard or the adhesive. The magic was the shared memories, the chaotic schoolyard trading, the generations of family bonding, the sheer analog joy of peeling a sticker and placing it perfectly inside the lines.
Which leaves us with a highly provocative thought for you to ponder as we look toward this new horizon. As a massive, modern sports conglomerate takes over the World Cup rights in 2031, a company whose entire business model relies on highly financialized, elite, manufactured scarcity, will the simple, democratic joy of kids swapping cheap paper stickers in a schoolyard actually survive? Or is the humble World Cup sticker album about to become just another elite alternative asset class, leaving its chaotic, butter-churning roots behind forever? It makes you wonder if a flimsy piece of paper will still have the power to stop a boardroom, or if the century-old spell is finally about to break.